So, yeah. Oh no, you're going to get paint on that. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh, hi. Okay.
You.
Okay, thank you. So I take a blank canvas and I start by painting a base color. So on this canvas, this is, I think it's 30 by 48 inches. And I think it's going to be a forest, but I could change my mind, as I often do. We're going to do a gray background, and then I'll be adding a lot of color to it. But I know this is not the exciting part to watch. Just get that base coat on. And I'm going to flip it. Try not to touch your to here. Oops. Nice. There we go. So most of my clients like the canvas with the 1.5 inch edge, wraparound canvas, because the paint splatters drip down off the sides and it kind of adds something to it. And then also you don't need to frame it. So a lot of people quite like that. I'm using an acrylic paint with latex. But then I'll demonstrate why the latex is important later, using its properties. Perfect. Okay, I think we're all. Just a bucket of water. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. So with all my paintings, when I get the base coat on, before I start building it up, I put a line of red along the bottom. So this is the latex paint, so you get a nice long line. I do that, something similar to this, on each of my paintings. So for me, this red line will be buried underneath what's to come, but I know it's there. And it represents to me this hidden passion that we all have deep inside us, that we rarely let little glimpses go out to people that we know or things that we're doing. Some of my paintings you can see a lot of the red line, and others you can't see any hint of them, except for maybe looking on the edge you can see a little bit of red on the edge, but it's there, this underlying passion that we all have. So that's sort of my little signature. So I usually start with the sky and the background on the sky. So once again, I'm going to turn it because I've established this as the bottom. Excuse me. Oops. Need to move that plant. Okay, that's good. Shouldn't worry about it. Mostly get covered. Bring a little bit forward. That's good. Okay, so off to the sky is a kind of a background that you don't notice once the painting's finished because they'll have so much in the foreground. But it does set a bit of a tone or a mood, I find. And I think with this one, I'm going to do dark colors around and then a lighter center point somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to start with, actually I think I'm going to start with a little bit of black. Let's see. I'm almost out of black, so we'll see. So again, the latex allows for the paint to kind of flow in a line before it starts dripping. This one seems to be quite thin, but oh yeah, this is mostly filtered out. It's okay. I never completely know what I'm going to get when I start dripping. So this one's quite, it's almost like it's got water in it. Could be from condensation, but that's all right. Actually kind of liking this. And these first colors and lines that I put on, again, at the very end when the painting's done, you have to hunt them out. They're going to be hard to find. Kind of helps me establish what I'm going to do there. So all these pots of paints are my latex acrylic paints, and I use these are stir sticks from the paint store, from Benjamin Moore or wherever else. Most of my paints are Benjamin Moore. They have a nice consistency that I like, and they make pretty vibrant colors. So yeah, so this one is what I was talking about with the viscosity. You get a good long run of these fine lines that get thinner and thinner and start as strings and ropey, and then they eventually become thin little threads with just a wisp. So I like the kind of mark making this allows me. This is something that would be impossible to do with a brush. You know, if you had to paint each little line with a brush, it would take forever. And not have the kind of the swing and the energy of it. Patrick, you can ask questions if you want.
What inspired you to paint in this method?
Jackson Pollock, I guess. I was just thinking, when did I start doing this? When I was in art school, university, in my 40s, so I was late. But taking art history classes and then learning about Jackson Pollock and then just getting what he's doing. Like a lot of people think it's just splatter painting, it's just a mess, but he has a methodology and there's a depth in his paintings that I found myself getting into. Plus, at the university I was at, every second year that a bunch of art students are lucky enough to take a field trip to New York City, and we got to see all the big museums and the paintings right up close, and it was just, I was just awestruck with his Autumn Rhythm and some of his other famous paintings, and then just started playing around with it. So when I was in university, I painted a couple of large paintings. The one Overwhelmed Me, that was at the LaPlante Gallery, is one of them, and then there was another one. I did it in conjunction with another student named Bridget Mooring, and she kept the smaller one. Well, it's still a big painting, but she kept that at her place. Unfortunately, Bridget has since passed away, but it was a great experience. And then after university, I just kept experimenting with paints and trying to figure out what was about. I tried all sorts of standard acrylic paints with different mediums to try and get the same consistency and viscosity, and I just couldn't achieve it with any store-bought medium. So then I went to Benjamin Moore, and they had at that time these little samples of these really bright colors, so I bought a whole bunch of little samples and then started painting with those. But then I realized I was using up a lot of paint, so then I got little quarts of the paint, and then eventually I started buying gallons. So I have been through gallons and gallons of the Benjamin Moore paint over the years. But their colors are really intense, like their pigmentation is really intense, and it doesn't fade, it stays. I was thinking that painting Forest, that is at the LaPlante Gallery, is all made from Benjamin Moore paints, and that was painted in, I think, 2007. And I was really excited to take another look at it and realize that those colors are still really vivid and bright. So yeah, despite being out and being on display with sunlight and lights on it, they're still really bright. So I usually finish the paintings off with a water-based varnish, and that seems to, I think, help keep things bright. But I think what I like about this kind of painting, it's not exactly what Jackson Pollock was doing. He used big white brushes and a gallon of paint and did a lot of slashing, and his canvases were on the floor. So it's sort of the same style and dripping from above down onto a prone canvas. But I like all these little fine thread-like lines in the painting. It gives it an energy. So yeah. So it's sort of like his, but it's sort of my own. And I don't know any other artists in Vancouver who are doing this kind of painting right now. I mean, it's free for anybody to use, but anyway, it has a nice effect. I'm quite enjoying it. Oops. That's a little bit close. Okay. I'm liking this a little bit. Painting in the time of COVID. So yeah, sometimes globs of paint will fall off the stick, and I just consider that a happy accident. I hadn't intended on it, but that's okay. He wants to be here, wants to join the party. I don't get any paint on it. What's the date today? September 14th?
Yes.
We're in Richmond, finally getting some rain. I was out this morning, lots of people out and about, nobody complaining about the rain. That was nice to see. It feels nice.
And you said you joined your art career very late. May I ask why?
When I went to art school or university?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd been married for 20 years, had my children in my early 20s. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. And then I got my real estate license when my son was about 12. So then I was a realtor for about 8 years in Langley. That was my life, just doing things. I won lots of awards in real estate. I was pretty good at it. But then my 3 children, my middle child died in a tragic accident. And life just fell apart, as did the marriage. And when I moved out and got my own place, then I decided to go to university as I always wanted to. So I started with just 3 courses, painting, sculpting, and photography, I think it was. And then after the first semester, I did really well, was really enjoying it. And then the director of the art department said, hey, why don't you go for a Bachelor of Arts degree? And so then took up the other courses that I needed, English courses and art history and the others. So then I spent 4 years there getting my degree. But it was sort of a healing process because I was going through deep grief over the loss of my daughter, and then the marriage, and the family just kind of imploding. So it was sort of a new start for me to just kind of immerse myself in artwork and just kind of focus on that. I always was a painter. I painted little paintings when we went camping and things like that, but I didn't pursue it that much because I was busy raising 3 children and doing all sorts of community things. And anyway, so that's why it was a late start to go to university, because my life just changed. And I've never regretted going to university. Boy, that was just the best experience. Yeah, anyway, so, okay. I'm trying to think if we want to put a little bit of turquoise in here. It's got some clumps in it. Switch it around every time. This should be the last time I do it. Okay, so now I'm going to start with the groundwork. So when the painting's finished, the top layers will be grasses and flowers probably, but I always like to, just for the fun of it, start with what's underneath the grass, so all the earth that's underneath it. So I do a lot of earthy tones until I kind of work out where I'm going to go with this. So I'm going to start with blue would be, I had to name it, the shadows beneath the earth. I'll start putting that in. Never really had to vocalize it so much. Or find a reason for what I'm doing.
And Catherine, a lot of your subjects are very nature-based.
Yeah.
May I ask why that's one of your primary choices of subjects?
I just love the beauty of nature, especially uncultivated things, things that just grow wild and naturally. And they have an energy and a movement. And I have done one portrait in this style when I was doing a demo at Granville Island with other artists, and there was a really good portrait artist who had a model, a man sitting in a chair, his friend I guess, and then there was another woman who was a portrait artist, then there was myself doing all this messy painting, but because the model was there I thought, oh what the heck, I'll paint him too. So it's a really funny little painting of this guy, I got him fairly accurately. Especially like the shape of his nose, it just kind of turned out that it looked good. I exaggerated his hair, all sitting kind of in big tufts, but yeah, it was fun. So I've done one portrait, but I guess I could try more. But I just kind of love the natural rhythm of nature, the energy of it, and giving myself free rein to do whatever I want. For instance, the trees that are going to be in this are probably going to be some pretty wild colors, not your standard browns or whites or grays, but Some of the paint settled if they haven't been used for a while, so the glaze ends up on the top, so that's what I'm stirring in. Just doing the beginning of a pathway through the forest. Suggestion of one. Oh, this is when it's kind of clumpy. Okay, I think that's all I want to do for today, because it's getting quite heavy and clumpy. So if I put too much else on, then the colors bleed into each other. I like them to dry as crisp as they can get, so then you still have the texture, and then the colors stay true to what they started as. So I guess until the next session, then we'll start adding the trees in the background tomorrow, and then work our way back to the foreground again.
Thank you so much,
Okay,
Kathleen.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to put any more because it'll get really puddly.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is why I chose a larger canvas, so then I would have more room to stretch things out. If I did a little one, it would just be a big mess of puddle. So, yeah. I didn't know I was going there today, but I like what I have so far. So, yeah. Oh no, you're going to get paint on that.